Yo, hello, welcome. Now let's talk about Wayfinder and few things that can enhance your experience in Wayfinder. Now the first thing I would say that would enhance a lot of people's experience is that in Wayfinder you get to pick your own Wayfinder at the beginning, and you're gonna play with that Wayfinder for a while early on. But one thing that you don't have to play with necessarily is the weapon. So let's say you picked one of the Wayfinder which you feel like really cool with, but you don't like the weapon. You can early on go to the arsenal and buy one of the normal weapons. So in the game, there is weapons that have identity. They are legendary weapons with names, and they have background story. They have their own identity. They're very strong, right? It's gonna be very difficult for you to make your own legendary weapon early on, but you can buy the basic weapons that comes with every Wayfinder without needing to buy the Wayfinder himself. So usually with Circle you get the rifle, but you can also get the sword and shield if you feel like it. So if you want to make your own playstyle, or if you want to twist things a little bit, or even if you just want to make the game with different flavor early on, you can play with two different weapons. That's up to you. It only costs 4,500, which is not that hard to get gold in the game, and you get it from the arsenal. All right, now the second thing is that the game is pretty new, obviously, so you won't be able to find a lot of guides on how to get things, but the game has in it like ways to understand how to craft items, so they don't just let you. For example, here, let's say you want to craft a legendary item. Now this is going to be very difficult. Obviously you're going to need to be later in the game, but for let's say you want to make this item. Now you don't know how to get these ingredients, but if you press F here, view ingredients, they will explain to you how to get all these ingredients. So there is, for example, you need to do this dungeon and you need to have this here on it, like this is the difficulty. Same thing here. So each one of them is gonna explain to you how to get it. It's not like a detailed explanation, but it's good enough for now. Now another thing is that when you do quests, let's say you don't know how to do the quest, and the game doesn't show all the quests for you. They only show a very limited of quests. They track them. So let's say I want to do this quest, but I don't know how to do it. So they will explain to you that you can find these items, collect shadow pages, but when can you find them? You can find them when you do the codex, which is a dungeon with a difficulty imbuement shadow. So they explain things which helps you a lot. Now, because you might not find all the information online, it's still pretty early for the game. Next thing is XP. Now, one of the things that you want to do to get a lot of XP, because you might reach dungeons that are going to be too difficult for you, you want to level up yourself, you can go for quests. Now, you don't have to focus on main story. I would recommend doing the priority quest whenever you can. Now, there is the priority quest will have two things to ask you to do. Now, the priority quest will give you a lot of XP, and doing the quest itself, when you increase the difficulty of the dungeon you just did, will give you even more XP. Now, there's two things that you want to keep in mind with. There's first thing, they ask you to get max Arclight. So what that means is that every dungeon you do, there's this bar at the top, and to get the max Arclight, you need to have the chest golden. Now, in order to do that, you don't need to kill everything or get every like loot in the dungeon, but that's what helps you to do it. So killing mobs and get the loot in the dungeon will help you reach it, but once you reach it, you don't need to go kill everything. So there's plenty more than enough for you to get that golden chest without killing everything in the dungeon. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that if you die a lot in the dungeon, you lose the ability to reach max Arclight, which will hinder your ability to do the quest. Now, the second thing that you might need is activate Imbuements. Now, these Imbuements are something you add to the dungeon to make it have higher difficulty. So there's different levels, there's different Imbuements in the game, right? You can craft them easily, and each one of them adds a difficulty to the difficulty. So for example, the shadow one will give the monsters a bit more damage, and they explode when they die. Now, the best Imbuement for you early on is greed. So what greed does is just puts piles of gold on the floor. You can collect the gold, and which makes monsters stronger. So just simply don't collect the gold. Now that's the first thing. Now the second thing is that later on they will ask you to activate two Imbuements. Early on you won't be able to activate the two Imbuements since you still didn't do a lot of the story. So you need to accomplish a good amount of the story for you to allow to open two Imbuements for the fort. Alright. Next thing we want to talk about is helper coins. So helper coins is simple. Once you go in the dungeon, you can click on the helper icon, which puts in queue. You can do it for a specific dungeon or for overall one, and you do dungeon with people, you get 4 reward normally, and you get also helper coins. So some of the rewards will be different because you're getting the helper coin. Now the first priority quest you get, you'll just introduce you how to do helper coins and then meet wolf. So this is wolf, and then you will be able to trade with wolf with the helper coin. So these different gloom stones, which is going to be very important for you, and we're going to talk about in a bit. So you can farm with helper coins the gloom stone. It's a very direct way to do it. Next thing we want to talk about are consumables. So if you go here in this area, you can get the consumable from Benji. So this guy can craft you different consumables. You can buy accessories from him and craft consumables. So consumables in this game are a bit different. You craft the consumable, right? You can craft an amount of the consumable, but then when you go to dungeon, you have the limited amount that the game allows you to use, and then you can refill them. So there are different types of consumables. So it's really good for you early on to make your consumable depending on how many consumables you can equip, and then use these consumables because you can refill them outside by going to the refill. Before any dungeon, there is that guy you can refill from. And here's how you just go to this guy. Look at how many potions I have. I just press F and I get to refill my consumables. Now, last thing we're gonna talk about is power in this game. And in this game, how to increase your power is there's so many layers for it. Now, just one thing I want to explain. You can craft these gray gloomstone. You can craft them with the gloomstone shard. There is no specific way to farm them, just doing dungeons will get you, but you can also get them from the helper coin, which you want to keep in mind. Now, for power system in this game, you're allowed to do a lot of things to level up yourself. So the first thing is your loadout. You have your own character, you have your weapon, and then you have your 3 relics that you can wear, or relics you can wear, right? Every relic will give you different powers. So for example, this gives you record power, and each one gives you different things. So you can customize yourself depending on what you want. Now, next thing is that you can wear something called echoes. So each item has a limit. So there is the capacity here, which tells you how many you can wear from the echoes, right? And each echo would give you something different. So that's the thing. Second thing is echoes. Now, if I click here, for example, I can choose the echo I want. Also, you can upgrade these echoes by if you press right click, you can fuse different echoes to upgrade that echo. So let's say I'm here. So this, for example, has a very high break power and magic defense. But for example, it's an epic one, but I don't feel like using it, so I can use it to fuse different things. So early on, I would say like for you, I don't think there is no problem in using something and losing it, because in this game you can just keep farming different things, but there's obviously things that would make sense not to fuse. So just fuse things that you have multiple copies of, or something that you won't use, because that will give you a decent amount of damage. So for example, if I look at this gives me physical HP, which is 35, and it will increase to 40. So there's 3 more HP, and there's like 40 more 40 more defense here. Now, obviously, I personally play with a range character, so I'm focusing more on crit power, crit rate, and weapon power, because that's mostly my damage, so I don't focus on anything else, and I try to keep maximizing them. Alright, after that, you have something called the affinities. So this is where the gloomstones come in. So you can use the gloomstones to level up your weapon, for example here, adding different things. So there's instinct, discipline, and focus. Each one of them you can increase it. Now, to increase your character, you need this item that you can get only by leveling up, and then you can use it. So right now, once you reach a specific level, for example here, I reach level 6, I have 6% here. Now I stop using the normal gray one and I can use the blue one, for example, and I have the level up. So each one of them will give you, so one here focuses more on crit and physical, an instinct, one here focuses more on discipline, and one focuses on focus. Each one will give you different things depending on also the things you're wearing. I think that affects it. And here you have your weapon. The weapon is straightforward. You either can get crit and physical defense, you can get weapon power and crit, and you can get resilience and ability power. Obviously, the more you level it up, the more it increases. So focusing on getting as much stones is a way for you to get your power. All right, and the last thing in power is the mastery here. Now, using a weapon a lot will allow you to level up your weapon, which will give you mastery. So for example here, I can activate this, which makes me deal 10% more damage when at long range. Another one will make me here get crit rate, crit chance based on the amount of shots reloaded for 30 seconds. So there is different messages which will allow you. So playing with one weapon for a long time will make you stronger with that weapon. All right, and yeah, And with that, that's everything I wanted to talk about. I hope this will help you enjoy Wayfinder a bit more. See you next one. Goodbye. Thank you for watching.